Hey yo, football fans, it's another great year. Fantasy football fiends, grab your beer. Giving you the best draft tips for all your picks. Starts and sits to the waiver wire fix. From my drafts galore to stats that's hardcore. Triple F does it all, have y'all screaming more. So sit back, relax, let the experts prevail. JT Magnum, Ziggy Guns never fail.
What is up, fantasy football fiends? My name is Ziggy Guns along with JT Magnum, and we're going to start off with a waiver wire pickups, stardom situms, and our sleepers of the week. This is week 4, start of the bye weeks also, so pay attention to your rosters. No Broncos this week, no Seahawks this week, and I forgot the other teams. We'll get to it in a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and start off with the waiver wire pickups. JT, who are your 3 waiver wire pickups of the week?
My 3 waiver wire picks are Marvin Jones, Stevie Johnson, and Owen Daniels. And I'm going to talk about Owen Daniels. He's a must pickup. Dennis Pitta is gone. He's gone for the year. He dislocated his hip, had surgery. He actually might be gone for his career. This is a serious matter with his hip. And Owen Daniels is left, and you already know it's Gary Kubiak-led offense for Ravens. He's the offensive coordinator. Owen Daniels thrived under that Gary Kubiak offense and in the Houston Texans game plan. So pick up Owen Daniels if you got a chance, especially if you have Dennis Pitta trying to pick him up. Hopefully somebody doesn't grab him in front of you, but pick him up.
Man, I had high hopes for Pitta this season. I can't believe it. He's always getting injured. And that was one of my waiver wire pickups as Owen Daniels, also Chris Ivory and Blake Bortles. And I'm going to talk about Chris Ivory. Chris Johnson has been such a disappointment as a Jets fan. I thought for sure he was going to come in and just take this over and run this offense. And, he finally has an offensive line. I mean, this is a Jets team that runs the ball. They're a run-first offense. And I thought it was just a perfect marriage. And, man, sure enough, it hasn't been. The better runner has been Ivory the whole time. He's been better at receiving also. He's just a hard runner. He's always been like that. I just thought for sure Chris Johnson and CJ2K would be back, and so far hasn't. But Ivory, he's not owned in a lot of leagues, and he's starting to get a lot more touches, a lot more confidence from the coaching staff. He's going to be the lead back. I think Chris Johnson's going to have to maybe hope for goal line duties. So let's go ahead and talk about our stardoms of the week. QBs. Who you got in your stardoms?
My 3 quarterbacks are Phillip Rivers, Nick Foles, and Tony Romo. And we'll talk about Nick Foles, actually. He's going up against my 49ers. And they don't give much up on the ground, but they've been giving a lot up on against the pass. And a lot of it is because of penalties. A lot of it is because of a lot of different reasons. But nonetheless, with all the penalties they're getting, with all the problems that's going on with their defense and their corners, they're just giving up a lot of yards, a lot of big plays. And what do the Eagles like? They like big plays. They like to run screens. They like to do quick passes. They like to do passes downfield. And I think Nick Foles, if he isn't running for his life, which the 49ers have not generated a great pass rush so far this year, Nick Foles might be in for a big game on Sunday.
That's funny because I'll talk about Foles later on. My 3 stardoms was Kirk Cousins, Phillip Rivers, and Tony Romo also. And I'll go and talk about Cousins. Cousins is looking awesome. And, surprisingly, last year whenever he took over, he actually wasn't too good. And everybody kind of saw that he was, rough around the edges and stuff like that. But he's taking over this offense, and he's just looking very, very good. And the Giants' defense, again, has been pretty bad. Yes, they limited the Houston Texans team to not many points. I don't know how, honestly, but the Giants' cornerbacks are pretty bad, even though they played good this past weekend. I still don't trust them. I think Cousins at home is just going to expose that Giants' defense even more. They have so many weapons on offense right now. I think Cousins is poised for a huge game. Running backs. Let's talk about your stardoms and running backs.
Number 1, I have Le'Veon Bell. Then number 2, Lamar Miller, and 3, C.J. Spiller. And we'll talk about Le'Veon Bell. This guy is phenomenal. I don't know. I had him on my sits last week. He killed me. I honestly thought against that Carolina Panthers defense, he would not be able to run like that. And he ran all over them. Not only he did, but LeGarrette Blount did. But Le'Veon Bell looks great. I mean, he looks awesome. So This week, obviously going against the Bucks, they are giving up a lot of the ground. They're minus Gerald McCoy. They're minus some defensive people, a lot of linebackers. They're banged up on defense, and with the way he's running, I mean, he's liable to get maybe 200 yards this week. The way he's running, so he's definitely now he's a must start.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had Lamar Miller also, had Toby Gerhart and Steven Jackson, and I'll go ahead and talk about Gerhart. He has been bad. I mean, he's probably been dropped already by a lot of people in their fantasy leagues. But now that Blake Bortles is the starting quarterback, that offense moves with him. And I don't know why it took him this long to do anything. But I think they're going to see a lot more, respect, and especially on the corner side. They're not going to stack the box. That's all they've been doing so far. That's why he has nothing. Stack the box, dare Henry to throw to somebody, which he doesn't have much. But with Bortles, he's moving that offense. And he, just from the little glimpse we saw so far, and he did it all day on the preseason also. So I got a feeling that if you had him and you hold on to him, you probably would get some benefit from it. Jacksonville's still a bad team, yes. However, even during garbage time, I could see Gerhart getting a lot of yards. So, wide receivers, who are your starters this week?
I have Randall Cobb, Steve Smith Sr., and Brandon Cooks. And Steve Smith Sr., we're going to talk about him. He's going up against the Carolina Panthers, his old team. And if there's anybody that's going to be more fired up for a game, it's going to be this guy. You know how fired up he always gets. You know how fired up he is. And lately, so far this year, he's been the Ravens' top receiver. I haven't even heard Torrey Smith's name. It's Steve Smith. I don't know if Torrey Smith's demanding double teams or what's going on with Torrey Smith, but Steve Smith's the guy that's getting open. He's the guy that's catching quick slants. He's the guy that's getting deep passes. He's catching balls everywhere, touchdowns. He's been phenomenal for. It's like he found the fountain of youth. So against his former team, I think he's going to be fired up, and that's why he's a must start because I just don't think he's going to be denied this week.
I agree. My three are Michael Crabtree, Brandon Cooks also, and Kelvin Benjamin. I'll go ahead and talk about Cooks. The more and more I see this kid, he's just looking better and better. And while his yardage might not reflect, what he's done so far, this is somebody that eventually is going to be doing a lot of, trickery plays, deep balls, and eventually a lot of these quarterbacks that we think are supposed to do awesome, like Drew Brees, they haven't been firing on all cylinders yet. And once he has his normal 350, 385 kind of yard games with 3-4 touchdowns, you're going to see Cooks right in the middle of all that action. So I got a feeling, especially against the Cowboys, horrendous defense, that Cooks is going to light them up. All right, let's talk about tight ends. Who are your three starters?
I have Martellus Bennett, Vernon Davis, and Charles Clay. And we'll talk about Charles Clay real quick. He's going against the Raiders. The Raiders have been sucky on defense. They gave up a touchdown. I mean, they held New England last week. They did okay against New England. For some reason, I don't know, New England's struggling on offense, but the Raiders have been dismal on defense, and they just for some reason stepped it up. But I think with Miami coming to town, Charles Clay is going to have a field day. Gronkowski scored a touchdown last week, so the Raiders, they have a hard time covering people. They have a hard time stopping the run. So I see a lot of play action of Charles Clay. So he's my guy this week.
I can understand it. My three are Kobe Fleener. Is it Kobe Fleener, right?
Yep, Kobe Fleener.
We got a name wrong last week. Sorry about that.
I said Luke McCown, and it was supposed to be Josh McCown. My bad.
And then I had Niles Paul, and Owen Daniels. And you touched up on Owen Daniels. I'm going to touch up on it now. Owen Daniels replacing Pitta. Flacco has been throwing, like 40 passes a game, it seems. And I just got a feeling that Daniels, he's actually been a red zone target in the early part of the season. So look for him now that he's going to be the starter to probably command a lot more looks his way, especially with Steve Smith playing so much better. The defense is going to have to respect him now, and you're probably going to be seeing Flacco throw a lot over the middle. So I have him as my top tight end this week. All right, defensive. Who are the three starting defenses?
My three are the Chargers, then Dolphins, and Lions. The Lions put up an impressive defensive effort against the Packers. And now the Lions are playing your Jets. And they are
the Jets
phenomenal.
Have an offense that moves.
They are a phenomenal team against the run, and the Jets like to run. And I just think Geno Smith's going to struggle this week. I think he's going to throw. I think it's going to be a little bit more fumble-rooskies and maybe a couple of interceptions again. So the Lions are actually going to get some points this week. Sorry.
The Jets are at home. The Lions were at home against the Packers. You got to remember they're a different team on the road. I'll just leave it like that. Now my 3 defenses, I have Miami also, Atlanta, and New England. I'll talk about Atlanta. Atlanta, when we first saw that first week, they just looked horrible. Then they played, last 2 weeks they've been playing. Their defense has actually been pretty impressive as far as fantasy-wise. They've been getting a lot of points. Last week they got probably the most points I've ever seen in a defense in a long time, because not only did they just destroy
yeah, that was just ridiculous. They destroyed them.
They destroyed Tampa Bay, but they had touchdowns. They had a whole bunch of points. I mean, it was very impressive. And then this week they're playing against Minnesota with the rookie quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. No Adrian Peterson, no offense. It's just I got a feeling
it's like they get lucky on their schedule.
They do. They always play. Yeah, right. Either somebody big on the team gets hurt or suspended or something, and they take advantage of it. Though I give them that.
Yep.
And Atlanta, I just think that they're going to have another one of those games where they just absolutely destroy Minnesota. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the sits this week. Quarterbacks. Who are your sit-ems?
Alex Smith, Jay Cutler, and Colin Kaepernick. And Alex Smith. I know. Colin Kaepernick against the Eagles. I just have a feeling. I don't trust him. I don't trust him at this point. But I'm not going to talk about him. I'm going to talk about Alex Smith because he's my favorite to talk about.
He's on your sit-em list every week. When do you ever have him on your sit-em list?
That was last year. I haven't had him on this year, but maybe once. I think this is the first time. Anyways, he's going against New England, and New England's tough against the pass. And I just feel this week, last week Alex Smith had a great game. He played well, and it looks like maybe he's back now. Maybe he's back to normal Alex Smith. Well, in comes New England with Aqib Talib and that defense, and he's going to be running for his life. And I don't see Alex Smith doing anything this week. So if you're high off of Alex Smith from last week, I wouldn't put him in this week.
My sit-em list, I have Joe Flacco, Nick Foles, and Teddy Bridgewater. And I'll go ahead and talk about Foles since you have him on your start list.
Controversy.
So Foles, I have him on the sit list because the San Francisco defense has still been playing pretty good. They're at home, and the Eagles, for some reason, now don't get me wrong, Foles is going to have a decent game. But he's not going to have this 3 touchdown games that he's been having every week because a lot of people forget that Foles has these stats right away because they're going to halftime down 3 touchdowns, it seems, every week.
That is true.
They have to come out firing on all cylinders. Now, the 49ers are a team that kind of control the game from the beginning. It's more like they're like Seattle in a sense to where they don't let the game get out of hand, and they don't necessarily put teams in a position to try to force their way back in it. So it's always like a 10-7, 14-10, halftime lead. So I don't see this, urgency that the Eagles, usually play with from the beginning or from behind lately this season. So that's the reason why I see Foles being more of a normal game, 225, maybe 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
I don't know. With the way the refs aren't letting the 49ers play defense, I don't think they can't stop them. I'm just gonna say that the refs will not let the 49ers play defense this year. So
that's gonna be the game of the week. We're gonna have everybody let us know, remind us who was right about this because we have Foles and the sit-em and the start-em this week. So.
Hey, that's why we have 2 different opinions. It's great.
Yep, there you go. Running backs, who are your sit-ems this week?
My sit-ems are LaShawn McCoy, Reggie Bush, and your boy Chris Johnson. And we'll talk about LaShawn McCoy. He's been struggling. Darren Sproles has been the better back. But LaShawn McCoy got a little banged up last week. He was playing against a Redskins team who is very good against the run already. And going against a 49er defense, 49ers always play good against the run. And it's rare that someone gets 100. I know DeMarco Murray got 100 yards against them this year. That was the first game of the season, but it's very rare that the 49ers give up 100-yard rushers, and I don't see LaShawn McCoy going off. Now, Darren Sproles is a little bit of a harder cover, so we'll see about him, but LaShawn McCoy, he's definitely a sit this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, I could see it also. I mean, I could see it. My sit-ems is Joique Bell, Forsett, and Bobby Rainey. And I'll go to talk about Forsett. Baltimore, all of a sudden, Forsett was primed to have Forsett just be the, Baltimore had Forsett primed to be the back, go for it. He's going to be a PPR running back. I thought for sure. I picked him up. I dropped a lot of people thinking he was going to be everything. And all of a sudden, I don't even know how to say this guy's name, so I'm going to get it wrong. Blah, 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 blah. Lorenzo Taliaferro. There you go. That's it. He actually played 91 yards, a touchdown. He started getting all the carries, and Forsett just looked like a complimentary back, and it looks like going forward that them two are now just going to be splitting. I thought for sure Forsett won that job, and it looks like, it's no longer like that. So if you picked Forsett thinking he was going to be the main back from now on, I'm sorry to say it does not look like it. That Taliaferro kid actually ran harder, runs pretty good, and I got a feeling he's going to be the back going forward. So we'll see. They're playing the hot hand lately, so wide receivers, who are your sit-ems?
You're not going to believe this, but Brandon Marshall, Torrey Smith, and T.Y. Hilton. Brandon Marshall because he's hurt. He's playing hurt. He looked bad against the Jets. He looked like he was hobbling. It almost looked like he was on the field to be a decoy for Alshon Jeffrey to go off. And
now he had 2 touchdowns that didn't count, it seemed, and I was upset about it because even though I wanted the Jets to win, my fantasy team, I have Marshall, and he had 2 touchdowns taken away from him.
Yeah, but I don't see him. The way he looked hobbled, it just seems like he needs to sit, but they're playing him anyways. These guys are barely running down the field now. They're hoping for red zone opportunities just to out jump somebody and get a touchdown, it seems like. And against Green Bay has 2 good corners, Tramon Williams and Sam Shields, and I think they're going to be locked up on Brandon Marshall this week. I think Alshon Jeffrey is going to be the better of the 2 again this week.
I can see it. My sit-ems, I have Eric Decker, I have Jordy Nelson, and Torrey Smith also. And I'll talk about Nelson. That rookie for Chicago, he is playing lights out this season in the corner. I actually think he's elevated himself to where they're probably going to have confidence and put him on their best receiver, which is obviously Jordy Nelson. Jordy Nelson leads the team in the receptions, targets, and everything. He had a not too good of a game last week, but he's still their number 1 wideout. And I got a feeling they're going to be putting this kid right on him, and he's just been tearing it up. Fuller's is what I'm talking about, by the way, if anybody want to know. Kyle Fuller. And I just think that he's just going to wreak havoc on Nelson. I don't trust Nelson this week. And I actually really don't trust Green Bay's offense right now. They've actually been playing pretty bad. And they beat my Jets, and I don't know if that's necessarily saying a lot. That's all they have. All right, sit-ems on the tight ends. What do you
got? Zach Ertz, Greg Olsen, and Niles Paul. And Zach Ertz, because 49ers always do well against tight ends. It's another one of those things where the 49ers played good defense. I just think the wide receivers for Philadelphia are going to go off this week. And Zach Ertz with Patrick Willis on him, I have a feeling Zach Ertz is going to have a rough go at it this week.
I can see it. All right, my 3 are Jason Witten, Rob Gronkowski, and Heath Miller. And I'll go ahead and talk about Gronkowski because everybody's probably looking at the schedule saying New England versus Kansas City, it should be a slam dunk. But Kansas City at home actually plays very, very tough defense. It always seems like it's an ugly game. And the way New England has been struggling on offense, I would be very cautious of counting on Gronkowski, which really he's been a non-factor. They only use him in the red zone, it seems. They only look his way to see if he can get a touchdown. And I think Kansas City's probably going to be prepared for that because they know the game plan. Throw to Edelman until you get to the red zone and look for Gronkowski. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what the New England's game plan is this season. So I think Kansas City will be all over it. Defenses. Who are you going to sit this week?
The 49ers, the Packers, and the Cowboys. And I'm sitting
Which actually have pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, the Cowboys for me because obviously they're playing the Saints and they can't cover anybody. And news just came out. Morris Claiborne left the team today. He's their sixth round pick. Pick number 6 in the first round, and he just left today. Orlando Scandrick took his job, and when he found out, he just left the team. I mean, I'm not sure if he'll come back because obviously they need to eat, so there's a paycheck involved. So he might be able to, he might come back and hopefully come back walking arms. But I would assume that he's sitting this week. So if they're minus a cornerback against a New Orleans Saints team, I would definitely think they're in some trouble.
Yeah, that's funny because you just took mine. I have to change mine. Now, I have San Francisco also. I have Dallas also. And then Tennessee Titans. I guess I'll talk about Tennessee. Tennessee's actually been playing pretty good defense. The team overall hasn't been that good, but their defense has actually been pretty good. But they're playing the Colts. And the Colts right now, Andrew Luck is on fire. And they're playing at home. It looks like it's going to be so bad, this game, as far as their defense is concerned, that I got a feeling Trent Richardson is actually going to have 100 yards. That's how bad, the Tennessee defense is going to play this week. So if you have him, I don't even know if you will play him anyways, but probably wise to not play him this week. All right, so let's talk about our sleepers of the week. Who are your 3 sleepers?
Mine is Jeremy Maclin, Donald Brown, and Stevie Johnson. And I'm going to talk about Donald Brown. He's playing on San Diego. He's the running back. He's pretty much the only running back right now. They lost Danny Woodhead. They've lost Ryan Matthews, and they're playing the Jaguars. Jaguars give up the most yards pretty much on the ground along with the Raiders. Look for Donald Brown to go off. I mean, he's pretty much, I'm sure they have other backs, but Donald Brown is going to be the featured back. He's going to be probably the most used back, and he's going to be prime for a lot of yards this week and some scores.
Yeah, I can see that also. For mine, Alshon Jeffrey, C.J. Spiller, and Steve Smith. Some of the guys you had on your start list in my sleeper list. And since you already touched up on most of them, I'll go ahead and talk about Jeffrey. Jeffrey, the reason why Brandon Marshall, you're right about that. That decoy factor makes it to where they have to respect his height and his ability to catch. And Green Bay, for some reason, even though they have good cornerbacks like you were saying, this season they've been giving up a lot of yards to the number 2 receiver. So Jeffrey, which is already, he looks like he's healed from his injury a couple weeks ago. He's been pretty speedy, and he just looks like I've been down on him all season long. I think this game against Green Bay at home, he's probably going to have his signature game where, he should have like 170-plus yards if Cutler is throwing that much. So he's going to have a huge game. I think he's actually going to be probably highest fantasy points out of the receivers this week.
Cool.
Bold predictions.
Bold predictions.
All right. So anything else? Do we leave out anything? Nope. Corrections? Do we need to have like a guy that tells us all the names that we've been saying wrong, so that way
we need to hire somebody. If you want to come work for us, feel free to do that. We can have that like that guy from Part of the Interruption. Who
exactly.
At the end of the show tells all the mistakes that we made. So feel free to laugh at us how you want, but like I said, leave comments, leave your questions in the comment section. Don't forget to tweet at us at Optimus Magnum and at Siggy V on Twitter. We try our best to try to get to them as fast as we can and do a lot of things for you guys. And just so you know, a lot of people like to leave dumb comments, and I'm going to say this like I say this on almost all my other videos. If you leave a dumb comment telling us that stupid things like we don't know anything or we're stupid, I'm just going to delete your comment. It's just there's no use trying to bother messing. And I've deleted a lot of comments on our page. We've been playing fantasy football for a long time. We have a lot of fantasy football championships. I've won a lot of money off of fantasy football. My record in fantasy football is ridiculous, and I'm here to try to help you guys. I might not be right every week. I might not be right all the time, but like I said, I've done pretty well in fantasy football, so I'm trying to, since I've felt that way and since I have the means to be able to make these videos, I'm trying to help you guys out. So, and that's the same thing with Ziggy. So,
yep.
So,
and before we leave, real quick, the teams that are on bye: Arizona Cardinals, Cincinnati Bengals, Cleveland Browns, Denver Broncos, Seattle Seahawks, and the St. Louis Rams. So, a lot of points out there. AJ Green, obviously, Manning, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, there's a lot of people to bench this week.
Yep.
A lot of big. It's a really hard week to judge fantasy football this week because a lot of the big receivers and quarterbacks and running backs are out.
Yep.
So good luck this week.
That was week 4. Picks'em, stardoms, situms, and sleepers.
Yep.
Ziggy Guns along with JT Magnum. We're out. Enjoy. Good luck.
Enjoy. Good luck.
Peace.
Thanks.